Welcome to Inside the Line, sponsored by Vice Motors. I'm Lizi Arbogast alongside Scott Hardy, and it is finally week 10 of football. Week zero. I'm excited. I'm ready to. I've talked to a couple different coaches, and all of them said the same thing, that they're ready to play somebody else.
Yeah, and I think that's really where you are at this point with preseason. You've gone through the summer and spent the last couple of weeks getting prepared for week one, or game one rather, and I know the kids especially are tired of having to compete against each other and ready to kind of run up against and tackle some other opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're here on site at Dadeville Tiger Stadium. Our game of the week this week is going to be Dadeville. They're actually at Horseshoe Bend this week, and it's kind of this local Tallapoosa County rivalry that they're sort of trying to develop. They played each other in the spring game, and now they'll play each other in week zero.
Yeah, and I think that it's something that both communities want. And again, when you're in that close of a proximity to each other, you want to have the opportunity to play. And so, again, both teams coming in with, I guess, different expectations for each respective team. But again, with Dadeville having to replace two of their better players in the last decade, and of course, Bend losing 21 seniors, so really a rebuilding stage for both. But Dadeville seems to have maybe more personnel to be able to make that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. With Horseshoe Bend only having one true starter back, technically two starters, but with Nowonski Russell moving from wide receiver to starting quarterback, having only Grant Taylor back at his true position that he played last year. That's hard to overcome for any team, especially for a team with small numbers, and you're talking about pulling up, kids from a younger grade that maybe aren't not ready for varsity, but maybe a little small for the varsity side.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it. Again, when you're dealing with numbers of this size, a community of this size, you're really dealing with a lot of attrition from a year-to-year basis. And so when you're fortunate enough, as the Generals were last year, to have such a large senior class, you'd like to try to take opportunities and be as successful as possible and seize that chance to be, better than maybe what you'll be for the next 2 or 3 years as these kids get ready to again develop and rebuild those numbers.
Absolutely. And on the Dadeville side, I think we're going to see a lot of changes in Dadeville. New offensive coordinator, going to spread the ball around a little bit. And we've talked a lot over the last year about how they've always relied on really one or two guys. And I think this will be better suited for the Tigers because they'll get more people with more hands on the ball.
And as you alluded to, with the transition of a new offensive system, a new offensive coordinator, you will see the opportunity for some more players to get involved. And it's not that wasn't, something that was in the game plan last year, but when you had two dominant players like Lynn and
Tucker,
yes, Quay Tucker, excuse me. Those two individuals composed almost 100% of your offense on a week-to-week basis. So again, when you lose that kind of star power, then you do want to try to figure out ways to get other people involved and maybe help with some of those shortcomings.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we got to talk about Benjamin Russell. They're kicking off the season at home against Beauregard this year. And I'll be really interested to see how they work under a new coach. Also have changed some things up, especially on the offensive side. And just I think people are really curious to see what this team has in store.
Yeah, and just from a community perspective, everyone seems to be very excited and impressed with Kevin Smith. Had a fundraiser last week, and he was able to speak to members of the community and supporters. And everyone that I spoke to said how impressed they were with him, and not only just his football knowledge, but his passion for this job specifically.
Yeah, this community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is very transparent when you speak to Coach Smith. But as you said, year one for him, 20 plus years as an assistant. Now it's time to get to work, and Friday will be a great opponent to get started with. Start the year off with the top 10 opponent, although at 5A, Beauregard comes in at number 10. And replacing with Damon Webb will be no small feat for them, but they do come back with some pretty good talent in the skill position side, and their defense is good as advertised.
Yeah, and I think that once again, Benjamin Russell is going to rely a lot on their defense this year. Kevin Smith has always said, you build off that front seven, which we saw last year was such a huge strength for them. But you are talking about replacing guys like Benjamin Hendricks and Dayton Tuck, and I think there's a lot of good guys that are coming up the system, but it will be interesting to see how it all plays out, and you get that sense in week zero of, okay, what is this actually going to look like when we come to facing opponents?
Yeah, and the thing I'll say that I'm most interested to see is who on this team steps up from the leadership role. You mentioned 2 great players from the defensive side, but 2 other guys, David Herron and Tyler Watts, who are great leaders as well. To see who steps up and takes reins, and obviously you will point to Landon Cotton, who's senior quarterback, 3-year starter, so 3-year starter rather. So you would expect for him to kind of take leadership and take the reins of this team. But offensively, I think you could see kind of maybe what you see from the Auburn Tigers earlier in the season, where they look for the defense to get them through games, and so they can see where guys are best placed on the offensive side. So it may be 2 or 3 weeks before we really get to see what this offense is capable of, especially while they try to find guys to fit in different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. One team in our area that won't have a whole lot of questions offensively is Reeltown. Obviously returning a slew of skill players, seeing the return of Kiki Hughley, who got hurt last year. Their biggest question probably at this point is the offensive line.
And, that probably applies to every team early in the year. The success of any team is going to be, especially offensively, is going to be the offensive line. And for a team that is as physical as the Rebels would like to be, setting the tone on the interior with the offensive line will be something that Coach Johnson wants to see happen. But as you said, when you return this many guys off of a playoff team last year, you would only hope to expand on what they were able to do last season. Yeah,
absolutely. I do think it'll be important for Reeltown to get off to a good start, though. They've lost the last 2 season openers in a row, and so even though the first game doesn't count for playoffs and things like that, you always want to get off on a good foot, and it would be Matt Johnson's first season opening victory if they can beat Fuller County, which none of us know anything about.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, I will say this, we've talked about it some in the off season, is I think this is finally his team. Not that it wasn't before, but you're in year 3 of the program, really coming in strong and being able to really get guys to buy in. And so you're having to replace somebody as legendary as Coach Jack Mill was. There are a lot of eyes on your performance, but I'm a firm believer in his program and the type of discipline that he really preaches and requires in order to be as successful as that team is doing.
Absolutely. And then last on the docket, we have Central Coosa playing at Winterboro, another team that I know nothing about. But I do think Central Coosa will once again be going through growing pains. They're under the direction of another new head coach, Brett Thomas, who is very familiar with the guys. He's been the assistant basketball coach for some time. But again, kind of building that repertoire with the kids, and they only have about 17 kids as of last week. So once again, I think it's going to be an uphill battle for the Cougars, but at least they're still playing. They're still excited. The kids seem to be in good spirits nonetheless.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how to say it other than, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
For the Cougars for some while, but the last couple of seasons in particular, you look at what they were able to do with Coach Barry Simmons, and you thought that they were on the right track. And when all of the coaching situation happened there last year, you saw what happened, and then having to deal with it this offseason as well. But I think the primary concern for the Cougars, not just now but going forward, is really just going to be getting players out. So, and that has always been, not always, but it's been an issue for a significant amount of time, and until they really get all of their athletes out, it's going to be a hard time for them to be able to compete. But even more so now with the limited amount of numbers that they have.
Right, exactly. And it's not just about getting out when you're a senior either. They do have some kids that have come out from the basketball team or have come out after not playing last year, but a lot of their kids are completely new to football, even though they may be seniors and juniors on the roster. Football-wise, they're just not quite at that level. But I hope for the Cougars that they can at least be competitive this year. They were really only in 1 or 2 games last year, and so if they can kind of see some positive signs moving forward. They are playing Winterboro, which is a 1A team. It's kind of a middle of the road team as far as I know. Maybe they can kind of, get a little boost of confidence going.
And
who knows? Maybe they could win.
Yeah, you bring up a great point too. That they may have juniors and seniors on the team, but they don't have football experience. And so, as a coach, especially a first-year coach, I don't know if you really have the time necessary. When you look at other teams like a Benjamin Russell or Reeltown who have juniors and seniors that have been playing a while, they've been in a system as well, so they've been
Right.
being coached. So it's harder there's only so much talent can do at that point. But again, I'm with you. I think that there are growing pains, and that's just something that they'll have to contend with, and maybe other teams won't. But I know the fight in that community, and hopefully that relays onto the football field as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will conclude our first episode of Inside the Lines. We're glad to be back. I'm excited to get football season going. Join us live twice this week, actually. We'll be at Horseshoe Bend Thursday night, and then at Benjamin Russell for the Beauregard game as well. So make sure to tune in on our Facebook page at 6 o'clock every Friday night this season. Thank you again to Vice Motors, our sponsor this year. Again, I'm Lizi Arbogast alongside Scott Hardy.